Well, today, Camp SAYLA, the Abbeville facility for troubled teens, is shut down. The State Department of Youth Services suspended its license after child abuse allegations. News 4's Jacqueline Lambert is here to tell us more about the suspension of Camp SAYLA's license. Jacqueline?
Bayla, a DYS spokesperson, confirmed to us this afternoon that SAYLA is closed and the teens housed there moved elsewhere. The suspension comes a month after Henry County investigators charged a SAYLA supervisor with child abuse. They say Kenyatta Danzy was a fugitive from justice who served at Camp SAYLA. Allegations are he hit teens kept there with potato-stuffed socks, struck them in the head with broom handles, and punched them. DYS spokesperson Dr. Shannon Weston tells us final determination on whether DYS will reinstate the license won't be decided until a correction action plan is complete. We sent a message seeking a comment to Camp SAYLA operator Losi Baker, and we're waiting a response. Bayla?
Jacqueline, thanks so much for that update. Now, a nearby girls' facility similar to Camp SAYLA is unaffected by the suspension.